Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is the Crush on Debt, the Calm Cash Flow Crush on Debt. And tonight we get to be graced with Lisa Drennon from The Smell of Money. I've been working now with Lisa for, well, what, since March, I think.
Mm.
And I love everything that she does with the way that she does her approach to not only debt, but also with business money and business finances. So I'm going to let her jump right in and we'll get started.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you guys for being here. I've never done one of these in the evening, so I'm a little bit whacked out because I've been on calls all day long. So if I stutter or like trip up my words, that's why. I tend to talk fast when I'm a little bit tired. But today tonight we're going to be talking about debt, crushing on debt. At 22 years old, I was a single mom working as a bankruptcy paralegal, and I knew better about debt. I knew how to avoid it. I knew how to create a budget so that people could avoid it. That was my job. But there I was standing in front of the bankruptcy judge with 22,000 or $32,000 worth of debt. And he looked at me and said, "You are way too young to be here." So I have this passion to teach people to multiply the money that they already have. So the one thing I hear online all the time is, I want to make more money. What's the fastest way for me to make money? So tonight I'm going to show you what's the fastest way for you to make money. So who here wants to have an extra $25,000 a year in their pocket? Raise your hand. 25 grand? Nobody? Nobody wants to raise their hand? Okay. You can do a thumbs up if you're not able to put your camera on. So when we think about money, when we think about cash flow, we always think that making more money is going to solve our problems. Well, that's the biggest lie that we've ever seen. I have a little presentation for you today. I promise you're not going to see pictures of my family or anything. If you do, I don't, this is an old slide. But let me just share this. Can everybody see that okay? Just throw me a thumbs up. Tech is my best friend. I always say that because I always have issues with tech. So I am the founder of I Date Money, and today I'm going to show you how to crush on credit cards. People think that debt is the villain. It is not. Debt is us borrowing from our future self because we want it now. Who wants everything right now? Raise your hand. I want it now. I'm not waiting. I can pay that back. I racked up in my 40s, so 22 bankrupt, $32,000 worth of debt, wiped clean. Made that promise to the judge, who made me promise I will learn everything I could about finances. So I did. I unlocked my financial genius. How? By tracking my expenses. I gave every dollar a job. Ooh, so simple. Why can't we all do it? If you could do it, you would have done it by now. And so I took all my money away from me because I was irresponsible. Money burned a hole in my pocket. And I figured if I took it away from myself, I would always have it, right? Lived on this restricted budget until my mid 40s, until I didn't, until I rebelled. So the whole entire time I had put all my money aside, set it and forget it. I automatically invested, saved, didn't have any debt. For those of you in your 40s who start to change life, you know what happens. Your mind gets all crazy. I felt deprived. I felt like I didn't really know what was going on. Every day, I would look at my bank balances. By this time we had mobile app. You can, back in the day we would call the bank. What's the balance? You get a little voicemail. Anybody remember that? You go to the ATM, get your receipt out, and like, you see movies like this. What do you mean there's no money? Dang. Or you go inside the bank. I remember going in the bank and my bank statement wouldn't balance to the penny. And I've been a treasurer for not-for-profits for over 30 years. And it has to balance to the penny. And I remember sitting across from the teller thinking, why isn't this balancing? What did I forget? I used to beat myself up all the time because I didn't know off the top of my head when it came to my own money. And one day I sat and I knew I had a lot of debt, but I didn't know how much it was. And I thought, what am I doing wrong? And I reached out to some of my fellow coaches, because I was a certified money coach. I know better. And every time bills would come, they used to come in the mail. Then we got the email notifications. I'd be like, I don't remember getting this bill. What do you mean those annual bills that we forget about? And I would just panic. Anxiety would set in, and I'd be like, I don't even want to look at it. There's too much information. This is just ridiculous. So, what did I do? I swiped a credit card and another one and another one. And then eventually I had so many credit cards, and there it was good. It was good debt because it was 0%. But those 0% eventually expired. And when they expired, I panicked because I believe that you should not pay any interest on credit cards. If you're going to borrow money, do not pay interest. So I would finagle my finances to avoid interest, and then I would get a consolidated loan, and it would, be less than the 28% MasterCard was charging, but it would still be like 7 to 13%. And I'd say to myself, okay, well, this is better. And then I would make a goal. I'd implement the snowball effect to pay off the debt. And then guess what would happen? Once I got a consolidated loan, MasterCard and Visa and Discover would send me love letters in the mail offering me more 0%. And I'd be like, oh, I don't have to pay this. So I literally shuffled this debt. I'd pay 3 or 4 credit cards off, and then I would just rack them back up again until I just hit rock bottom and I was like, I need help. So I'm around 45, 50 years old. How old am I now? Almost 59. Yeah, I was around 45 years old. And I said, okay, I just need help. I'm going to go make more money. I'm going to pay off my debt. I'm going to look at my goals. I'm going to go online and I'm going to start another business. So at this time, I was working full time, overtime, and I had 3 side gigs as a treasurer. Plus, was running a team of 25 people with an MLM company. So I decided to add more credentials to my plate. I became a certified aromatherapy practitioner, built out another MLM business, and then I looked at my debt and I thought, why isn't it disappearing? Why isn't it going away? And I thought, okay, I'm a Dave Ramsey fan. I was teaching Dave Ramsey. I was in Dave Ramsey for 12 years. I know what to do. So I implemented the snowball and paid off the debt. But guess what happened? I racked it up again. The cycle would not stop until one day I finally said, one, I didn't know how much money I owed. And two, I wanted it gone. And I decided I was going to go get help. So who do I hire to go make more money was a marketing coach who didn't understand the niche I was in at that time. I was working with post-abortion women. And she's like, you need to do client attraction coaching. So she set my whole entire business up and tells me to start in the money mindset unit. I go, money mindset? What's that? It's not, money's math. There's no mindset in money. She says, just go start there, please. So I did. And the first thing I looked at was my debt. There was this coach in there that had me map out my debt in pictures to show what I did with it. Cars, education, and all of a sudden I thought, well, debt isn't bad. And I went through this process and I realized, one, that I had $100,000 worth of debt. Two, I was keeping it from my spouse who accused me of financial infidelity at the time. We almost got divorced because of it. And three, I had more money coming in than I knew about because remember, I set it and forget it. I didn't look at it. And all I kept telling myself was, I need more money. I was deprived. What was making me deprived? I was deprived because I wasn't having any fun with my money. So I decided to crush on my debt. I decided to create an I love debt worksheet, and I decided that 20% of my income could go towards debt. 20%. Think about your income right now. How much money do you think you make per year? Most of you will say between 30 and $100,000 if you work for a corporation, if you're a 9 to 5er. If you're a business owner, maybe you're making multiple 4, 5, 6 figures. It doesn't really matter. But if you take 20% of what you think you make, okay, so say you make $50 an hour and you take 20% of that, are you willing to put that towards your debt? Most of you will say, no way, that's a lot of money. I don't have that kind of money. I have bills to pay. Well, of course you do, because whatever you say is true. Whatever you believe is true. So I realized that I was telling myself this lie, and then that lie was dictating my results. So if thought comes into your head, it becomes your feeling, and that feeling gives you the action that you will take, which creates the result. So I decided after going through my money mindset therapy and realizing the psychology of money is more important than how much money you make. It's what you think and how you feel. This is why we buy from emotion. So I created a wealth activation roadmap, which I call a money map. It's the money multiplier system. And what it does is it helps you organize your money so that you can give yourself a $25,000 a year raise without getting more clients, without posting 25 times a day, without driving yourself crazy, without opening up your bank app and panicking and saying, I don't have enough money. I need to go make more money. And it's that simple. When you think about your debt versus your income versus your assets, you probably don't pay attention to how much you're worth. Most people don't even know what your net worth is. So if I said to you, if you were to look at your money right now and you needed to sell all of your savings and your investments, would you have enough money to pay off your debt? Could you say yes or no? You can put it in the chat. You can say yes or shake your hand or do a thumbs up or whatever. So if you could say yes, I know that my net worth, my assets, my savings minus my debt, I still have value. I still have money available. I can use my net worth to pay off my debt and I could have a clean slate. And so then the next thing is if you say no, why don't you have enough money? Because guess who you've been avoiding to pay this whole entire time? You. As a business owner, especially, if you are not paying yourself money from your business, you are not a true business owner. You're just a passion project runner. You're running a passion project because you're putting all of your money into your business and you have this mindset of, I'm going to go make more money because more money is going to solve my problem. That's the wrong question to ask yourself. How can I get to have $25,000 more in my bank account without getting more clients, without hustling, without pulling my hair out, without posting 25 times a day? How can I is the answer that you want, or is the question that you want to ask yourself. So when I decided to add up the debt that I owed and to crush on it, that was the game changer. For almost 7 years, I looked at it and panicked and tried to pay it off with my money management system. So my money map was 10% for me, because the first thing you do, financial class 101, anytime you get any kind of income, income is money coming in from a job, your self-employment, from multiple sources. Someone gifts you $100 for your birthday, that's technically income. Income could be from unemployment, it could be payments from annuities, inheritances, assets, whatever. You can get income from if you're in a state that has bottle returns. I used to live in New York State. You turn in that 5 cents. In Michigan, it's 10 cents. I had a client when I was working at the Social Security Administration. His job was to go collect bottles and cans, and he used to make $30,000 a year doing that. He collected a lot of bottles and cans. That's income, right? So income comes from self-employment, income comes from working. Income comes from unearned sources like pensions, Social Security benefits, things of that nature. Anytime you get any income, you automatically, non-negotiable, shake your head. I'm doing it. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what my bank account says. Money, 10% is going into my savings account. Non-negotiable. The first rule of thumb is you build up an emergency fund, minimum of $1,000 before you start even tackling debt. Eventually, you want to build it up to 3,000, and then you want to build it up to 6 months worth of your needs. Your needs are your food, shelter, clothing, transportation. And clothing is kind of iffy because we're all adults. We don't really grow anymore unless we're growing outwards like I am, but we can look at that budget differently. And when you do that, you tell yourself, you know what? I have another non-negotiable. We're meant to have fun. If we're not having fun, we crash, we burn. If you're not having fun doing your business, please stop. If you're not having fun and you look at your money and you're heartbroken and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to work more. I need more money. I need to do this. Oh, I got to pay that bill. What do you mean I owe the taxes $10,000? Stop. These are all messages that you're sending yourself that's keeping you from being a successful money maker, money manager. If you want to be the CEO of your money, of your business, you automatically give yourself 10% fund money. Now, if you look at your income and I just gave you $25,000, okay? How can you make $25,000 in your money that you have right now? You take my money hunt challenge and you will find the minimum found is $500. The max so far is one of my clients and my aligned CFO who found $2,100 per month just by drum roll, canceling subscriptions and shopping insurance. So I'm an independent insurance broker. If you're not shopping insurance every 6 months or every 12 months, whenever that, like car insurance is every 6 months, health insurance is every year, you are leaving money on the table. Money is leaking out of your door. There's a huge gap there. So just by readjusting your subscriptions, how many of you guys love AI? How many of you build apps through AI? How many of you guys have twin AIs? Every single time you get an AI app, it makes you buy another app because those things called credits make you invest more. And the next thing you know, you have 12 AI apps doing the same exact thing, and you've only paid 25, 59, $69 here and there. But guess what? If I add up a $17 a month membership, say I'm in 5 groups and I pay $17 a month, that's $85 a month. On a year, that's $1,000, over $1,000 a month I'm paying on subscriptions in a membership. And I'm probably not going into any of those groups and utilizing what I paid for because this other shiny object over here has caught my attention. And I no longer like that group because it doesn't deliver what it did, but now I'm locked in for whatever reason because I'm afraid I'm going to lose the intro price. I'm afraid, I fear we tell ourselves this story. And you tell yourself this story over and over again until all of a sudden you look at your bank book, your credit cards, and you're like, where's all my money? Where did my money go? And then we put it aside. We don't want to pay attention to it because I don't have time for that. Forget that. I'm busy. I'm not going to build out my business plan. I'm not going to look at my book. I teach my clients to have a money date once a week. I date money. Once a week, we sit down with money, and the first thing we do is celebrate what is going well, how much money we have saved and invested. And if you say right now, well, I don't have any money invested or saved, you don't know where I'm at, you don't understand. My income's irregular. I know, I've heard all the stories. I've had every single story that is possibly written about money. I retired from the Social Security Administration after a 30-year career. I've worked with people who are super poor and I've worked with people who are filthy rich. And the one thing they all have in common, will there be enough? Define enough. What is enough money for you? And whatever that number is, I have clients who make 30 grand a year who are very, very happy and millionaires. Why? Because they saved that 10%. They only buy what their money map, what their wealth activation roadmap is designed for them to buy. And if they want to tweak it, they tweak it. They're completely debt free because they don't like debt. So they don't want it. So they don't have it. So they don't use it. But then I have clients who use debt to leverage it to make their savings grow, which is genius. You get a 0% credit card and then you invest in a coach that costs $10,000. You got 12, 18 months to pay that off and you say you have that money saved already because that's part of your business operating expense. But now you're leveraging that debt to build your wealth and now you're ahead of the game. So there's different little tweaks that we can put into our business, but it's just all making a commitment. So if you want to make an extra $25,000 a year without hustling, without trying to figure out how to get more clients because you don't think you have enough, or nobody's listening to you, you're not visible, nobody's buying from me. Well, it's true, no one's buying from you because you're not being visible. You're not showcasing your talents and your gifts. You have the cure for cancer, but you're keeping it to yourself because you're so worried about making more money that that's all you're focused on and it's coming through. I know I do it all the time. I have to stop myself and say, okay. And that temptation to rack up debt, it's so much easier just to throw it on a credit card and pay for it later because it soothes that emotional feeling, that feeling that I have inside of me that tells me I'm not worthy enough. You're not good enough. No one's ever going to buy from you. That model is not going to work. I've tried everything and it's not working. And so when you think about what you're thinking about, that's what the results that you have. So if you want to make $25,000 extra, you simply tell yourself, how can I make $25,000 an extra? You create a wealth activation roadmap. You map it out. Every time you get paid, you keep your business separate from your personal. Every time you get paid in your business or from your job, 10% goes into savings, 20% goes towards debt. And if you want to seriously pay off debt, I paid off $100,000 in 6 months. How? One, I realized that you never rack up more debt than what you've earned. So, do you know how much you've earned in a lifetime? If you're in the United States and you've worked, you paid your Social Security tax, you can go to SSA.gov and you can pull up your earnings and see exactly what you've contributed, what you've earned for your whole entire life that you've reported. If you're self-employed, you can pull up your tax returns and you can see you've probably made over $7, $8 million. Maybe you've made 100,000, 400, 500. It doesn't really matter the number. It's just a number. You give it value. Money is energy, it's a currency. We decide the value of something, a product or service. Society says a dollar bill is worth $1, 4 quarters, because that's what we say. How do we know it's not worth 10,000? Because everybody's in agreement that a dollar bill is a dollar. Well, that dollar bill, we're going to call her Dolly because I'm creating something really cool that's going to be animated as soon as I get my tech and me together. Um, Dolly the dollar is just a dollar. She's just a dollar and she wants a job. If you don't give her a job, she cries and gets upset and feels alone and thinks, gee, she doesn't love me. He doesn't love me. He's not giving me a work to do. He's just letting me sit here. Oh, I'm going to vanish in thin air. Oh, let's just go spend that on coffee or dinner. Or, oh, my friends want me to go to lunch. Oh, didn't I go to lunch 3 times this week? Oh, no worries. And then all of a sudden, you don't have money, so you swipe it on a credit card. And then all of a sudden, you get the credit card bill, and you're like, I owe $500. What? Huh? I didn't do that. What did I do? Okay, I'll pay it off. I got 10 days. And then 10 days comes, and then you go to pay it off, and guess what? The money's not there. Where'd it go? Poof, it disappeared in thin air. How do I get it back? Yeah, did I do that? When you think about how you're directing your money, are you the boss of your money, or did you give your power away? Because 99% of entrepreneurs just let money slip through their fingers and keep telling themselves, I need to make more money. And if I make more money, my problems will be solved. Statistics show that people who win the lotto, that 80% of the people who win the lotto will not have a dime to show for all that money that they won within 2 years. It'll be completely gone. If you don't know how to manage $1,000, you're not going to know how to manage $10,000. I get on sales calls with entrepreneurs and ask them their goal. What's your money goal? What's your profit margin goal? Well, one, they don't understand what that means, and two, they'll tell me they want to make $25,000 a month. That's a big, audacious goal for someone who's never made that much money. $25,000 a month is a lot of money. Career people, the most I've ever seen is a radiology doctor. 7 years ago, she was making $500,000 a year. And you know what she told me? It wasn't enough. Because the more money you make, the more expenses you have. So you think you want to make more money, but then you have responsibility. You have teams, you have operating expenses. You have to boss people around and hold them accountable for what they're doing on your team. Is that really how you want to run your business? I personally don't. That's why I'm going to stay a solopreneur. But if you think of your big, audacious goal, your big picture, and you think, I want my business to do this, I want to pay off my debt, I want to take my debt, the money that I'm applying to debt, and I want to do this with it, now you have a plan. Now you have a blueprint to follow. So in the chat, just put, if I was debt free, this is what I would do. I have clients who have $100,000 worth of debt, and I challenge them to pay it off in 6 months like I paid off mine. People say, well, that's a lot of money to pay off in a short time. How did I do it? I was working, if you remember earlier, I had said I was working full time, overtime, and I had 3 side gigs. I chose to take my overtime and my 3 side gig money and put 99% of it towards said debt. What did I do with the other 1%? I had fun. I had a blast. Because if you don't have fun, why are we doing this? So extra money, when you want to pay off debt, you make a commitment to yourself. I'm going to be debt free because this is what I want to do. Instead of paying MasterCard, Visa, and Discover, or, I'm not talking about mortgages and cars because we consider that debt differently than we do credit card debt or consolidated loans or personal loans. So those are the only ones I'm focusing on right now. The minimum monthly payment can be upwards to $2,000 a month. Wouldn't you rather have $2,000 to travel? Like Jen says, I want to travel. Wouldn't you rather, instead of paying $2,000 a month towards credit card debt, wouldn't you rather do that to travel? I want to start a retreat center. I want to build a retreat center on the beach. So that's what my profit margin goal is, to take that profit margin and save. And anybody know living at the beach, it's a lot of money because the salt water destroys things and there's a lot of maintenance to keep those things up. Um, so you have to plan that out, right? It's a great big audacious dream, but if you don't have that end goal and reverse engineer it, you never get there because your mind doesn't know right from wrong. It doesn't know what to do until you give it a problem to solve. So the first thing to do is to pay off that debt. You crush on debt because you say, instead of me giving Discover, MasterCard, Visa $2,100 a month, I'm going to pay this off and I'm going to take that $2,100 and I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to go on a yacht. I'm going to do that, whatever it is you want to do. And then that gives your subconscious something to solve. So if I was debt free, I'd party, live a little. So how do you want to party? Are you going to go rent a yacht, go to a private island? Maybe you're going to go to Bora Bora. If I was debt free, I would travel a lot more. So be really specific. A lot of you want to travel. You get to travel. I had this dream when I was in 2016. I knew I had a lot of debt. I didn't know how much it was, but I was panicking every day. And I wrote down, I was sitting in church and we were filling out this thing. And I'm like, I really want to travel. And when I started working on my money mindset and my money story, and I looked at the debt that I had, I was like, if I could take all the money that I was paying towards that debt and save it towards travel, where would I want to go? So think about where you want to go. I love cruising. So I've been on many cruises since 2016, all through the Caribbean. I started when I paid off that debt, I was like, wow, $100,000 in debt is a lot of travel. I could go anywhere. And so when I gave my money a dollar, when Dolly the dollar said, I want a job, I gave her a job. I let her go into a savings account online, high yield, and I started saving her for travel. And I specified, I've always wanted to go to Tahiti and Bora Bora. I live at the beach, so it's like, do I really want to go there? Do I want to go see Europe first? I'm like, no, I really want to spend some time in Bora Bora. I want to get one of those huts on the water. That'd be so cool. I love the ocean. The beach is my favorite spot, right? So guess who's going in July of 27 on a Polynesian cruise? Woohoo! Why? Because I dedicated 20% of my income to pay off debt. And I made a money map, a wealth activation roadmap, and I said, Dolly, we're going to give you a job, and this is what we're going to do. And I went and I took all of that income that I was just racking up and blowing on whatever. I was impulse buying coaching programs, courses, software, funding my business so I can make more money when I really wasn't paying attention. So when you think about what you're thinking about when it comes to paying off debt, when it comes to increasing your income, when it comes to making more money, what is one action step that you can take to get an extra $25,000 a year in your pocket? $2,100 a month. I leak money eating out and I need to stop that. Yeah. I had a client who went to coffee every single morning, $10. Always complained she couldn't make her rent. Go, what are you doing with your money? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, when before she became a client, let's hop on a call. I'll show you my superpower is to identify your money leaks. I can look at them and I can find them in a second. She also had daily coffee runs, and she had a huge friend group. They were all friends, but they would ask her, three or four would say, "Oh, let's go to lunch, let's go to dinner, let's do this." So 3 or 4 times a week, she was going to lunch, dinner. I'm like, why don't you just have them all over your house and have dinner for them? Like, that's ridiculous. Tell them. And she was like social. Her mind was, I need to be a social. I need to get out there and I don't want to say no because they invited me. I don't want to turn the invitation around. Have healthy boundaries. If you map out the money that you have and you know you want 20% to go towards debt, you're going to say no. You're going to say no because your goal and what you want is more important to you than pleasing your friends or your family or your partner or whatever. You have to want it more than anybody else, especially if you have a partner who's not on board with you. I have a couple that I work with and they keep their money completely separate. So if you think about they're doing their thing, they're doing their thing. I'm married, my husband and I kept our money separate for years. And then finally we came together and did a joint checking account for our joint household bills. I was a single mom for from 18 until 26. So it was really hard for me to pool my money with somebody because I was on my own since I was a kid. I don't trust nobody. My brothers used to steal from me. Nobody's taking my money. I'm in control. So that's okay, but you have to have that understanding like this is how we're going to do it. This is where I feel safe. Because if you can't create financial safety, you're always going to have debt. You're always going to be chasing money, and you're always going to be worried about the money that you don't have, that you think you don't have. So if you know money manager, can you tell me, you don't have to give me the numbers, but can you tell me right now, say yes or no in the chat? I know exactly how much money I have coming in each month, and I know exactly how I'm spending it. Yes or no? Got it. Yes. All right. Getting better at it. Thank you for your honesty. Yes. I'm talking down to the penny. I'm talking about you know exactly how much you're going out for subscriptions. You know how much you paid for coaching programs. You know how many courses you own.
I knew you were going to say that, and that's why I didn't say yes, because I'm like, I can't go down to the penny.
You know me by now, Heather.
I
Yeah.
know.
Oh, hell no. That's right. There are so many money leaks. I call this the green gap. So I know that there is something left at the end of the month. Okay. So if you open up your bank account right now and you look at it, we're August 19th. There's only what, 11 more days left or so? I don't do math in my head that quick at this hour, but there's not that much longer left in August. If you open up your bank account right now and you see $2,100 in there, it's my number today, 2,100. Is it yours to spend however you want to? Or does Dolly the dollar, does every one of those dollars have a job? Most people will look at their bank account and say, oh, yeah, I got that money, I'll spend it. And then they sit down, or maybe they don't, they get a bill and an alert saying that, oh, we just auto drew your mortgage or your rent. Oh, it's the first already? What? When did that happen? Oh, dang, the first is on Saturday. They took the money out the day before. Ah, I was going to go out to dinner. I don't have any money. Panic sets in. And that panic chokeholds you because now you're going to hustle. I need to get more money. What did I do? And then you beat yourself up and then you go charge something. Oh, I know. I'll finagle my finances. I'll just move money from over here and then I'll pay myself back later. I'll take care of it later. And then you carry this bad habit over into your business. And then your personal money is funding your business is funding your personal money, and you're like, I'm not making any money anywhere. And then you're going to call on with me and you'll say, um, I don't have any money. You don't understand. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. I haven't made a dime. I can't sell my thing. Why? Because you don't have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to fail. That's like the basic 101 law of life. You have to have a plan. You have to know where you're going. You need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you need to have fun when you're doing it. And I purposely use the word need, and I never use need or should. But when you are on a mission, if you don't think that you need it, you won't go after it. The people that are successful are the ones that want it bad enough that they will do anything to get it. And it's just because they told themselves, how can I? How can I get an extra $25,000 in my pocket without chasing money, without getting more clients, without selling on socials or in school 24/7? So if you look at your debt, 32,000, 60,000, 15,000, 100,000, tell it you love it. In I Date Money, we love on debt. We crush on debt. We have an I Love Debt worksheet. And the I Love Debt worksheet shows us exactly how much money we owe, how much interest we're accruing on that money, and how long it's going to take us to pay it off. Most people think to pay off debt, you do the snowball, lowest to largest. That gives you the instant dopamine hit. It's the fastest, easiest way for you to get wins, but it's not the best way for you to be debt free. And that's what working with me and the Wealth Accelerator becomes really super easy because I have that superpower. And when I look at your debt and when I look at your money coming in, I strategically set it up for you in a customized money map so that your money is working for you. You're having fun, you're saving while you're paying down your debt, and your income, your profit margin in your business is increasing, or your investments are increasing in your 9 to 5. Because I work with both business owners and non-business owners. If you could do it on your own, you would have done it by now. My coaches tell me that all the time. I want to hit multiple seven figures in my business. I don't need a coach. I have tons of coaches. Well, if you could do it on your own, you would have done it by now. We all have blind spots, and we think we know because we've convinced ourselves that I know, I know, I know. Well, if you know, why haven't you done it yet? Why haven't you hit six figures in your business? Why aren't you debt free? Why do you keep chasing after these little shiny objects and these little 17, 27, 97, $47 offers? What are you telling yourself to make you believe that you can't. So the news story becomes, how can I get $25,000 more in my pocket? How can I pay off $100,000 worth of debt in 6 months? How can I receive $25,000 a month in a profit margin? I'm going to tell you that I wouldn't even go for that goal. Personally, it's more responsibility than what you think. Pick a number, put it in the chat, hold yourself accountable. If you are able to, in the next 90 days, pay off your debt or a big chunk of it, say 30% of your debt, and start to consistently bring in a profit margin of a minimum of $2,500 a month, would that be worth it to you? What would that be worth to you? And would that be something that you'd want to invest in? If you think, and we'll talk gross receipts because I know a lot of people, whatever you sell, right? Your gross receipts is whatever you sell. If you have a $2,000 offer or you make $2,000 a week in your 9 to 5 job, right? Your gross profit, your gross receipts, your gross pay. You got $2,000 coming in. And you knew exactly how to spend that $2,000 so that you can build savings, pay off debt, have fun, give some money away, take care of all of your needs and wants. Would you want a proven system to do that? And what would it be worth to you? How much would you pay for something like that?
I think that's the question that gets everybody really quiet.
Yep, I do that all the time. I can make a room go totally silent.
Anytime you start talking about money, the room goes quiet.
You can make jokes about it too. That's what Heather does.
Joke about everything. I can't take it. Nobody can take anything serious around me. It's just not going to happen.
She makes it fun. Debt aisle cleanup. What is it? Debt aisle cleanup, aisle 7, debt cleanup.
That cleanup on aisle 7.
So if you think money is just money, it is. And if you think you're in control of your money, you are. If you know you can pay off your debt in 6 months, you will. It's just a matter of what you think and how you're taking the actions to align to what you want. You just have to want it more than anybody else. I had a client who, during COVID, was a yoga teacher. Obviously, her yoga studio wasn't operational. That year was a bad year for her. She had racked up IRS debt, $50,000. She started going hybrid online and she reached out for services for me. We set up the wealth activation roadmap, created a customized money plan for her, and in less than 90 days, she paid off that $50,000 worth of debt. Her online business tripled with clients, and then within a year, she was able to open up her own business. And the only thing that she did differently was she started allocating her money her way. We call it owning your money. We organize your cash flow so it works for you. Not everybody wants to spend their money on Starbucks. Not everybody wants AI products. How do you want to spend your money? And then navigating wealth. If you don't save for your future, who do you think is going to save for it? Nobody. You are worth saving for your investments in your future. If you're in the United States and you don't have a Roth IRA, go get one. I recommend Fidelity. Um, you need to start building wealth because you're not going to work until you're 90. And you might not even be around that long. But really, when you get to be in your 50s, 60s, you start to think about retirement. A lot of businesses will grow their businesses to $1 million and then sell them. They have an exit plan. You need an exit plan. And then navigating your finances with confidence. If you don't believe you're able to manage your own money and you think a bookkeeper or an accountant or CPA or a financial advisor is going to bail you out. What if they steal from you? You don't know what they're doing because you don't have a pulse on your income. So how do you know that they're guiding you in the right way? You have to know, you have to at least understand and have a concept. Yeah, this is what my money should be doing. Because there's lots of people who get stolen from. Big names. George Foreman, there's a beautiful story about him and how his financial advisor mismanaged his money and he never checked in on it. Same thing happened with Michael Jackson. It's happened to everybody. You have to have a pulse on what your money is doing for you before you trust someone else to manage it for you. So you being the CEO of your income, of both your business and your personal, is key to being able to pay off that debt in order to grow that wealth. Because it truly doesn't matter how much money you have, it's what you do with it.
100%.
Hmm.
I am going to put the Smell of Money link in the comments. So if you're not a part of Lisa's community, you can check it out. Oops, that was not the right link. Hold on a second. And then just because it works out well with who's on the call and what we have said in the comments about everybody wanting to travel, when you get your financial shit together, you can hook up with Edgar because he has a travel business. So there is the link to the Smell of Money. Um, And then what I really would like you guys to do is if you guys have any questions, we have a few more minutes tonight, but if something comes up after this and you get a chance to just kind of let everything marinate and you're thinking about it and you're like, Lisa said something and I just have another question. Tomorrow we have the open hours for the open office hours for the back to school week. And Lisa's going to be jumping on with us again tomorrow, and you can ask those questions. Tomorrow's going to be much more laid back. It's not going to be all of the I don't want to call it a lecture because it wasn't a lecture, but
No PowerPoints.
yeah, no PowerPoints, all interactive, just asking questions. And even if there was something that she didn't cover tonight that you have questions on, you can bring those tomorrow as well. So, anybody have any
Yeah.
questions tonight?
Yeah, and I want to invite you, no pressure. I'm not going to sell you anything. I give away more than what I charge for. But if you want someone to look at your finances and say, hey, where's my money links? I'm happy to do that for you. I do an audit. So we start off with a CEO gap assessment, and it just gives you a quick tool score. And then I can just show you where you can do one thing to improve your cash flow. So I'll put that link in the notes as well in the chat. So feel free to book your call. And like I said, no pressure. We'll just take a look at it. I'll give you one quick win so that you can start to see that cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do. That's where I get my dopamine hit from now on. It's not from charging things on a credit card. It's helping people save $2,100 a month, finding $25,000 in your wallet.
Since I started working with you, I think the thing that was hardest for me was the commingling of funds and like pulling them apart. But that has been the one thing that has been so eye-opening is keeping the personal and the business completely separate and knowing when money comes in, where it's all going, and actually being having that visibility and that clarity, which hello, I'm like visible and visibility and clarity are my thing. So why not in my finances?
Hmm.
But having it in the finances was really awesome. And like you had said before, you weren't paying attention. I was not paying attention. And I'm still working on that. Like when I go shopping, when I go grocery shopping, I don't pay attention to what the price is other than, oh, yep, okay, I'm going to put it in the cart. And then I keep going. So when I get to the checkout, I have no idea how much money I've spent in the cart.
Hmm.
And then what's really bad is I'll get out to the car and I'll be like, what did I just pay? I don't even remember because I wasn't paying attention.
Hmm.
So training your brain to actually pay attention is like the first step.
Yeah, making it just a mental note, like, oh yeah, I just spent $100 at Walmart, or at the grocery store or whatever. And yours says, what we just heard is fundamental for taking control over money. I remember reading a book that went through that structure and starting working on it years back. Yeah, profit first. So I'm a profit first professional. I don't pay my dues anymore, so I can't technically say that. But I was certified profit first professional, and a lot of the information I share is structured on that. I tailor it more towards the person because not everybody, with the profit first system, you pay yourself first. If the rule of thumb is if you make less than $250,000 in gross receipts, you take 50%, 50, and pay yourself a paycheck. But some businesses don't need that, they want more of a paycheck because they have less operating expenses. So it's very tailored to online businesses. So I work with mostly women coaches, and their overhead expenses are very low. So they can pay themselves more than 50%. I need to separate my personal account from my biz. Yes. Are you in America, Tisa? Yeah. So we have a link. You can use my link or Heather's link for Novo. That's the number one business checking account I recommend in America because it automatically sets up the money buckets for your business. And you can set up those allocations based on those percentages, and then all of your business income goes into that account. I don't care if you get it as cash, it gets converted into cash into that Novo checking account, and then you let the business run the business.
That has been fundamental. It has been so nice. The money comes in, it gets distributed where it's supposed to go. You don't even have to think about it, which is my motto. Don't think about money. Just
Yeah.
let the app do it for you. But then you
And
come
that's
back
what
in and it's where it needs to be.
Yeah, and that's what helped me w over 20 years um with setting it up when I after I filed for bankruptcy. I put everything in different money I called them money envelope. It was a money envelope system back then. And then eventually I moved it to bank accounts. So you can have a really simple banking system that tracks all of your money for you. I have one client that has 20 different bank accounts, one for each money expenditure, so that they can keep it straight and they don't cross streams. They don't borrow from, like as my mom used to say, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. So whatever works for you, whatever is organized. Ally is great. I recommend Ally to all of my clients. It's a great way. Does their checking account have the reserves? I don't know. I forget.
I
But
don't think so.
no, just their savings.
I
So
think
with
so.
Ally, you can take that and um, set up all of your, so if you have savings and investments, your taxes, you can put all of those in those buckets and you know exactly. So when you open up that app, you can say, oh, I have X amount of dollars for this that I can spend. And then you can see how your money is growing. I had one client who wanted money spent on going to the Super Bowl. And so she found out how much Super Bowl tickets were based on where she wanted to sit at the most expensive stadium, and then how it would cost to get there. So she averaged it out. She added 10% for inflation, figured out how much she would need each month, and then she started saving for it, picked the year that she could go, and in her Ally account, she had a reserve thread for that specifically. So using banking as part of the money map is an option that's really good, especially if you hate spreadsheets and you don't like to use apps to track your money. You just want to have that bank account option. It's one of my favorite ways to manage money is just having the separate bank accounts.
It's been super helpful. Were there any other questions? And feel free to hop off. You can ask your questions live. You don't have to do it in the chat. We are super chill.
Oh, so someone says I could stop impulse buying. I have a huge problem with this when it comes to my online business and AI tools. Yeah, and asking yourself, why am I making this purchase? What's the ROI? I have for my clients, I have a tool that, or no, I actually give it to all my people who join the Smell of Money. Should I buy it? And it's based on the psychology of money. It's a fun app. And you just, anytime you want to make a purchase, you answer a couple questions and it tells you what's it going to cost you to make that purchase. And like it asks you, do I really need this? Do I already own it? How is it going to help me grow? And when you can stop and ask yourself those questions, you're not going to have those impulse buys.
Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up for tonight. Your homework, any questions you have, bring them to tomorrow and Lisa will answer them on the call there.
Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time.
Awesome. We'll see you guys later. Thank you.